And of course, other citizens of Kaduna State will also benefit. They will pay only 40% of the normal cost of transportation. All our buses are computerized. So it's not something that is manual, it's computerized. And when we say we're going to allow people to have 60% subsidy, meaning they can be able to use this card, which will make available to everyone. And of course, you can only see this thing when you go to advanced societies. And Kaduna, we have computerized all our buses.
Pensioners and civil servants who rode around the town with the governor on the launch of the free transport service commended him for keeping to his promise of subsidizing transport in the state. Students say the free transportation will greatly assist in their educational pursuit.
The pensioners in the state are the most vulnerable persons because we are the aged persons. If at least based on the mega pension that we are receiving of 30,000 naira, if the subsidy is being reduced or we are going to enter at least bus free of charge, I think that's one of the best things that the governor can be able to do for now.
At times, you don't have money to come to school, maybe transport issues, so this CNG buses will increase, will help students in their transport activities. And for that, thank you, sir. Your Excellency, sir. Thank you.
His Excellency has walked the talking. We just now alighted the bus. We went around, and as I'm talking now, workers are enjoying this, the benefit of this.
The CNG buses have now been designated to operate along several routes, picking up residents from across the 200 bus stops in the state. The state government is now advising commuters to maintain order at the bus stops, warning against rush or jumping of queues. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
And that was a beautiful report from Lupe Asom. Thank you so much for that report. So let's begin this conversation. I'll start with BKO. I mean, BKO, recently you were in Kaduna. What inspired Governor Ubasani, to prioritize the rollout of CNG buses for not just civil servants, retirees, for students? What inspired it?
Don't forget, you see, his background as an activist and somebody who has empathy must have influenced this tremendously. And as it goes on in his administration, we are going to see even a lot more people-centered policies, except if in those days when he was an activist, he was a pretender. But I have no reason to believe that he was pretending as an activist, because I had known him since then. He used to come to my office. I used to interview him back then, along with my friend Henry Bolwe. So this is somebody that I've known for so long. So as an activist governor, we expect him to do a lot in terms of the welfare of workers, in terms of the welfare of the citizens. So those policies that are people-centered, we will be seeing a lot more of those policies being implemented by his administration. You as a governor, you are not simply to build roads. You are supposed to care about the welfare of the people. There are people in our villages who cannot get their wards through school. If you do your best to ensure that more people can have access to education, more people can have access to healthcare, a lot of the people in the state will appreciate you, and it will not be difficult to sell your candidacy to them. So the governor knows that in many countries of the world, transportation is highly subsidized so that people can move from point A to point B without a dent in their pockets. We see such transportation subsidy implemented in the UK and many countries of the world. They do not take transportation lightly because workers need to be able to go to work so that productivity can improve without necessarily costing and harm and the leg. And this is what we expect more of our state governments and even the federal government to do. Do something about transportation, because a good number of us workers, we are spending a lot of money to get ourselves to work. So kudos to Governor Obasani for doing this, and I know that this is deeply appreciated already. I've spoken to some people who have said, no, we are happy, and the buses are very comfortable, so they are modern and really beautiful.
Okay, I mean,
so kudos to.
Okay, all right, CK, looking at this is a beautiful one. In fact, BK said he wasn't even surprised. But as beautiful as this may sound, are there mechanisms in place to make sure that the intended beneficiaries actually benefit from it, you know, to take away without political or bureaucratic bottlenecks?
Well, I have to commend also join BKO in commending the Kaduna State governor for the gesture. Taking it further, we come to realize that, just as he said, there are some people that spend over 40% of their salary on transportation alone. Since the removal of petroleum subsidies, transportation costs have gone haywire. And for that is why you see at times you see some organizations say, come today, stay home tomorrow, work virtually, and the rest of most of the time is always transportation. So coming up with this kind of initiative is a very, very, very good gesture. And what even makes it even better is the fact that he has declared that for the next 6 months, it will be free for everybody, retirees, students, civil servants. When they say civil servants, I don't know what of public servants, so I don't know. Because this public servants, so they should ask public servants because it should be for everybody. Not for all encompassing, not for any category of people. And I just came back from Kaduna, and I was highly impressed with what I've seen, I saw in Kaduna, although I've not been in Kaduna for over 25 years. So when I was impressed. Beautiful city, clean city, at least the city that I visited. And also, the level of security. If there's anything that you have to give to this particular governor, is also how he has been able to bring level of security, to, secure the people of God. Because we knew prior to his coming, this recent attack that we have hearing, especially Southern Kaduna, especially, that drastically has stopped. Sure. So I commend him, and I believe that this will also reflect in other aspects of governance from his part. Just like he was doing, even yesterday, so another organization, I saw that the NMPC also donated 35 CNG buses to the further. I'm sure you must have seen that yesterday also. This is the way to go. And my only concern is that why is this not being done in other states, every other state? That is the factor. Why is it that it's being limited to some certain states? Is it not the same money that these governors receive that Governor Sani is receiving? What are they doing? Most of them have... some are even receiving more than... That is where I'm going. More. That's where I'm going. Because if you put it on his salary, if you put it on the scale, I don't think Kaduna should be around 20. When it goes about 20 or 25 in the hierarchy of the economy. And you see what he's doing. So those that are receiving the jumbo pay and the heavy tax, what are they doing with their money? What are they doing with the money? That is a question.
He has said it.
It was fast enough to just take
exactly. Why can't this be reciprocated?
I think basically the way we should look at it is this should be the template. It's not something... Sorry, I'm of the opinion that whatever government is doing, while we are celebrating some over some, is because some are not doing what is expected. This is normal. This is dividends of democracy. This should be the ideal thing. Especially those of us who are working, we are paying tax to take care of the retirees, the children. Do you understand? So basically, I am not, this is just what do you call it now? This is a representation of good governance. And this should be the template for every state. It's not, because there's no better time to implement this than now.
Absolutely.
When we are dealing with the effect of subsidy, if we go into private sector, like he mentioned, now we are talking about civil servant. What about the private sector?
The private sector.
You and I know how much we bring out to buy fuel daily. I can do the calculation. By the time you talk about the percentage. So companies like ours is also doing something about augmenting the transportation. So it's given. I recall when this issue of subsidy was so tensed in 2012, one of the promises made by the federal government, because I don't want to categorize government after government.
It's a continuum.
What they promised is subsidy on our transportation. transportation should be, you know, all these issues should be diverted into transportation, should be cut off. And this government has gone further to provide CNG. There's so much talk about CNG, and it makes the cost of transportation less for the provider. So I want to encourage every government. We may not have the list of those who are doing similar thing, but the numbers are quite few. And it is advisable that they copy this template.
Okay, maybe just to round up this conversation, BKO, as beautiful as this may sound, how does the state government plan to maintain and even fuel these buses in some local governments where there is, in areas that have limited gas infrastructure? Has the government actually planned that out?
No, I'm sure they are working on that. And sometimes before you roll out a policy, you have to ask yourself whether it is implementable. So I expect that the state government have worked on how to get supply of compressed natural gas to the distant local government, because, as you said, all the local governments will benefit from it, and they've already split Kaduna City into 3. You see the buses in Rigachikun, in Tudunwada, you see them in Kau, so that people can move from one point to another. So I'm sure that they have that covered. But if in the process of implementation problems crop up that they didn't expect, I'm sure they will be able to deal with it frontally. The governor is a very direct kind of person. He's so focused, and it shows. So I expect that they will deal with whatever challenge comes with implementing this people-centered policy.
All right, then. All right, let's move straight to our next conversation. Now, during politically sensitive periods, rumors often fill the air, but not all of them hold water. Governors Biodun Oyebanji of Ekiti State and Babagana Zulum of Borno State have denied reports linking them to planned defection from the All Progressives Congress APC to the African Democratic Congress ADC. Governor Oyebanji described the claims as misleading, insisting that his administration remains committed to the APC. In a similar tone, Governor Zulum dismissed the defection reports as politically motivated, saying his loyalty to the ruling APC is not in doubt. I mean, Sikian, talk to me. First of all, what triggered the rumor? I mean, were there signs to show that, okay, maybe these governors were doing something that shows that they're about to defect or something? Where did this come from?
It's time for political demarketing.
Demarket?
That's going on. That's what is going on. It's called political demarketing. And everybody will throw everything into the works and try to demarcate each other. And you want to ask yourself, why will a governor, Oyebanji of all people, want to defect to, I don't know which party, they didn't mention which party, ADC or Labour Party, or is it the coalition or what? And also Governor Zulum, who everybody knows is one of the best performing governors in the past 5-6 years. And so he's one of the first 11, if we want to talk about governors in Nigeria. And he's a very good ambassador for the APC. As I said, so why would he want to? And he's been doing very, very well. So, as I said, it's time for political demarketing towards 2027. For one, Governor Zulum is not recontesting in 2027. He must have done his 8 years.
Absolutely.
Yes. Oyebanji, okay, you can say that he still have some years, but why would they? Okay, why would they even want to move? When even people from the political party want to move to the ones are even moving the other way. So I don't think so. It's just time for people to just try to cover and try to demarcate and try to make them, paint them black in whatever form. I think that they shouldn't bother about that. They should focus on delivering the dividends of democracy to the people in their states, because they will be judged based on their performance.
Absolutely.
And that is what is going to happen. It's not whether you are defecting or not defecting. That is why we've said, even those that are defecting are giving all sorts of flimsy excuses. We want to align with the center. We want to align with the middle. We want to align with the top. And it doesn't make any sense to me. You can still deliver wherever you find yourself. Let me give you a classical example. Somebody like, although he has also said he's not doing, look at what is happening in Abia State. Governor ASUU is the only governorship candidate of the Labour Party. Abia State is the state next to mine. My village, Obowu, is just about 10 minutes drive to Umuahia. Owerri, that is state capital, is about 2 hours from my village. But that means that I go more to Umuahia. And I have seen the level of transformation in that state. You look at Enugu State. Look at what the young man. That guy.
Enugu State governor.
That guy is just.
Just give it to him.
That is why we say that governance doesn't know party. I've talked about Zulum APC. I've talked about Uti Labour. I've talked about Pitamba, Enugu State. These are young, dynamic leaders that are delivering the dividend of labor, irrespective of wherever they find themselves. Anywhere you find yourself, political parties deliver. That is what will be used. Sure. Not jumping like a harlot or prostitute from one place to another. No, that was not going to count. Because at the end of it all, at the end of your tenure, when Nigerians are marking the script, they will say this and this and this what you did. They are not going to be mentioning your political party. So I just mean, as I said, this is a period for political marketing, and you will see more. You get to hear more.
Fingers crossed. But Kaide, let's look at the timing of this. I mean, why did this defection thing gain traction? Is it a sign that there's maybe some sort of crack in the APC or the growing influence of the coalition?
I think the news for me there is the denial. You know, when you see governors respond or you see politicians respond, trust me, it is in their own best interest
to quickly debunk
it. Because now it's a game. Someone, if they keep quiet, someone would do the permutations in the name of an analyst in one blog, in one newspaper, and trust me, there are also paid writers.
Yeah, sure.
CKN will tell you more about them. So at this stage, it is important for whoever is being fingered to cry out and say, no, no. You know why? If you have a history of ever speaking against probably the government of the day and so like that, it is important you let them know that it is based on issues and there is no plan to undermine that government. That's the case of Zulum.
Okay.
And when you're dealing with Governor Oyebanji, there are whispers out there that his godfather is probably not fully with APC, talking about Fire Me. So there is tendency for Oyebanji to come out and say, I am on my own. I am with APC. This party has done this for me. This party has not done this for me. So it is important that they come out. So for me, I think it's not out of place for them to cry out. But like you said, we are going to see more of this. Somebody must have planted this report. Somebody is playing games. Somebody wants to send some, jittery button into the ruling party, because there is this saying that this opposition or this coalition is as weak as nothing if you don't have a ruling governor, if you don't have a sitting senator, because I think the only person I've seen so far is Tamboa or somebody. So the party wants to create some buzz.
I think they have someone in the House of Reps as well. But Bike, talk to us. What triggered this rumor? Were there signs to show that maybe these governors were nursing this idea? I mean, talk to us. Where did this rumor come from for them to start denying this?
Wake up from deep slumber and then invent a story like this. It's not unusual. Did an apparently crazed individual not sit down to write that Fashola wrote the judgment of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, only to run away from our country? And when he thought that Nigeria had forgotten, that Fashola and others had forgotten, he crawled back into our country and was picked up. So people in this age write all kinds of stories. The sensible media houses would just be patient. They will not be in a rush to run those stories. There is no reason in the world for anybody to imagine that an Omoluabi, like the governor of Ekiti State, will want to join the ADC. To what end? This is a governor that, look, I can say that he has literally turned Ekiti to a one-party state. He has united with those who should naturally get up and contest the election with him. There is on good terms with them. The big politicians in the state, across different parties, they are happy with him. So why would he want to join another party? A party with a future that is not cast in stone. I mean, it makes sense to stay where you are, especially when you are getting all the adulation, you are getting all the support. Even Fauci, that is in a different party, has openly endorsed this governor. So what is he looking for? So this is plain falsehood. Plain falsehood, and that's the way that the governor of Borno State has described it. They may want to harp on the fact that, there seems to be some misunderstanding between the governor, between some key political figures in the state and the president. It's been speculated that the president will drop Kashim Shettima. The president has not told anybody that he will drop his deputy. If it was Ali Ndume that they speculated that, he has joined or plans to join, I will have no hesitation to believe it, because he's been talking like somebody out of the APC from the beginning. And he's the only one who can explain why he has chosen to always go against his own party in a manner that embarrasses the party, embarrasses even the vice president, because there are people out there who imagine that, shouldn't the vice president be able to stop him? So if people are building stories around that attitudinal disposition of Senator Ndume, they should not extend it to Governor Zulum, because they are different people. Yes, Governor Zulum too has been complaining, especially about insecurity and all that. And I know that people have told him that he should tone down some of those rhetorics, because they are not helpful. They are not helpful. Because they send a clear signal that, things are not well. But if people move on from that to then imagine and then do stories that suggest that, people like Zulum want to defect, it is because they see him complain about certain things that he believes must be fixed, about security especially. But I have no doubt that Governor Zulum is committed to his party. He just wants the best in the area of insecurity. That's why he's coming out to complain. Yes, people have complained that is not a good, it's not strategic. But that does not mean that he wants to leave the party.
Okay.
And I like the fact that he too is the issued a statement to say that is not going to happen. Talking about Kayode Fayemi, because he was also listed. Kayode Fayemi was at the meeting in Ekiti, where the APC stakeholders endorsed Governor Oyebanji and the president for a second term. So what was he doing at the meeting if he had plans to join the ADC? So some of these things, we should simply dismiss them as politically motivated and meant to give the impression that, there is going to be an implosion within the ruling party that will benefit the ADC. We just have to be patient. Let's see where all of this coalition and all that ends. But Nigerians must be careful not to believe everything that they read. We live in a season of fake news. And I believe that there will still be more fake news
as we go into 2027.
Come out in the coming days.
Exactly. Yes. All right, then. We need to go on this quick break. Don't go anywhere. Still Journalist Hangout.
In a world where news never sleeps, we're taking a giant leap into the future. We at TVC Communications are proud to introduce a new era in news broadcasting. But first, let me introduce my special friend, Olamide AI. Hi, Olamide Human. Is it time to come out yet? Yes, indeed it is. And you can bring your friends along. Meet our new AI anchors, speaking your language and sharing your stories. From English, good day. These are the news headlines, to Pidgin,
better country people, on a good evening.
Yoruba,
Ekaro, Ekudede Asikoyi, Shedadalabayi,
Igbo,
Ndewo, Auto Innovation, Ahambu Obada Samson Ejuro,
and Hausa.
Mutane na sanar da zuwa, sunana Rakia Abdulkarim kuma kana kallon TVC News.
We are bringing the news closer to you, faster, smarter, and always reliable. And together, we are shaping the future of news for every Nigerian, everywhere. Innovation, connection, and trust. The future of news is here.
TVC News, first with breaking news. And now first in Nigeria with AI news anchors.
All right, if you just joined us, it's still journalist Hangout. I still have Chris Kende Nwadu, CKN right here. Kaidi Ladendi is also right here. And we have BKO joining us via Zoom. All right, let's move straight to our next conversation. Now, when labor laws are not enforced, it gives room for employers to disregard rights of workers without consequences. The Nigerian Labour Congress NLC has announced plans to crack down on private sector employers for failing to implement the 70,000 naira minimum wage. The Assistant Secretary General of the NLC, Onyeka Christopher, noted that the lack of implementation by the private sector worsens inequality and defeats the essence of wage review. Now, let's look at this, Kaidi. As brilliant as this sounds, that they want to start monitoring private companies, so how exactly does the NLC plan to monitor all of these private companies on the minimum wage, which are in their thousands in private companies across the country?
It's simple. It's simple. It's as simple as name and shame. It's as simple as saying it the way it is. It's as simple as saying, hey, this so-called big company still have people who collect 15,000, 20,000 naira in their employ. Some people want to protect their brand and they don't want this embarrassment to be in the public. So it's as simple as that. But having said that, it's just to also understand whether they have justification to not, obey the law. Because some will say, hey, this is our inflow. We cannot afford minimum of 70,000. Some may have a justifiable reasons, but it is now a law. They must do something.
You don't have a choice
about it, But just for us to understand what exactly NLC and TUC are saying, there is a requirement number of people that you can have to be bound by this law. Because somebody who is a house help, somebody who is a driver, might begin to take up his own boss and say, hey, minimum wage, it has to be 70,000. I mean, maybe this person is still collecting salary somewhere. Out of his salary, he's paying you his 50K or 60K, depending on the situation. So they should be well advised what the law says. I think it's a minimum of 25 or thereabouts in your employ for you to be bound by this law. So NLC, TUC is in order for what they are doing. Yes. And if you read that report, they were giving a lot of thumbs up for many government institutions who have actually complied. I think they said maybe just 2 states are yet to comply. So that's a good one. And it's to say that private sector, you are bound by this law. You were part of the tripartite committee that negotiated, and this 70,000 is a law. So I think whatever it is, they may not be able to go around, but let them make example of the few they can do, and some will sit up, because trust me, 70,000 is way, 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 way too small for anybody to be paying less than that.
Absolutely. I mean, as beautiful as it sounds, but what support mechanisms will be available for workers who may wish to report their companies to NLC? Or like a whistleblower, hey, they are not paying us 70,000. And how safe are these channels?
Yes, Kay put it succinctly, and that is fact. The law is very clear.
Sure.
it's not every company. Well, you can come to CKA News and somebody working with me and say, oh, I work for CKA News, he's not paying. I don't have up to 25 people working with me. But
you still comply.
I still comply.
Exactly, you should.
You're
a law-abiding citizen.
Don't say I should. If you cannot accept what I want to give you, then you can well leave. But I try as much as possible to comply with that, because just as he said, 70,000 naira can't even buy you a bag of rice in Nigeria. That is just it. Now, but even let us even
in
take
some
it,
states.
And depends on the kind of rice.
Yes, it depends on the kind of rice. Now, even the states, he mentioned about say maybe it's 2 states, and that may not be totally true. Because most of the governments in the state are very, very economical with the state. I know of a state in Southwest, I don't want to mention their name. I was saying that I'm going to embarrass them one day, but let me start it. Yes. What they do is pay 40,000 naira across board increase to the salaries of everybody. So even if you are level 15, you have
no 40, consequential adjustment.
Yes, no consequential adjustment.
So just add 40,000
just adding 40,000 naira every month to everybody's salary. That is
whether you are level 16 or level 1.
Whether you are 10 or 1 or that is what it. Yes, in the Southwest. And people have been calling me from that state on the CK talk about it. I've told them, I say, if you have something like that, we invite you, come to TV and say it. So that is the fact. So there are many states that have been economical with the truth in paying this. So the NLC should be able to do investigation properly and not just have a blanket that 36, 35 states.
I guess the state NLC, yes, the state should pick it.
That is what I'm saying. They should make sure that those states are being. Then coming to this is a fact. Sector. Yes. Most of the organizations, private organizations owned by Nigerians and worst are mostly owned also by all these foreigners. Chinese, Lebanese, Indians is a fact. I'm telling you. Casualization of people, even where you see them employing graduates. And they pay them 50,000 and pay them 40,000 and they believe that they're doing you a word of good. And they tell you if you're not ready, just go. It happens. So I believe that NLC have a lot to do. But what they need to do is to activate that mechanism within themselves, within their union, which they can use to be able to monitor.
Yes.
There are some banks. Let me say this. With all the money that most of these banks, you see them posting, most of their workers are casual workers.
Yes.
Even those at the counter. It's a fact. And tomorrow you continue asking yourself, they say, we are losing a lot, we are this fraud. Why wouldn't there be fraud in your bank when you are not paying your staff properly? I'm talking of specific now. I'm talking of specific. I know of banks. So many of them, I've been to some banks. I want to transact. They'll be telling the cashier, this is, sir, please, if you have another job, if you can say a job for me. I say, you're working, you say, sir,
counting money.
Counting money. They say, okay, you won't be. Go to their counting room. Those guys in their counting rooms, most of them are casual workers. I think that they should also start from there. Make sure that nobody that works in the bank should be a casual worker. Why can't you pay them? Their CEOs are riding private jets, buying private jets.
That's true.
It's a fact.
I mean, getting windfall profits.
If you see profits, some are even spending trillions and trillions to even buy shares, coming back to buy shares in their banks. So why are you not paying them well?
I mean, BKO, your thoughts on this? What NLC is about to do? What are your thoughts on this?
I think it is absurd in today's Nigeria to pay any worker less than 70,000 naira. It's absurd. It is not humane in any way. And whatever the NLC can do to enforce compliance by employees of labor, I am fully in their support. There are schools, private schools, where people don't get paid up to that amount. Yet they go to work every day. If you do not pay a person up to 70,000 naira, that is borderline slavery, because he's going to spend more than 80% of that money on transport fares, on fares. Let me not speak bad English on air. He's going to spend 80% of that money that you are paying him on fares. So why not pay the minimum wage? Except if the worker house is a spitting distance from his place of work. Even at that, for the worker to be able to deal with some needs, send children to school and all that, they need to be paid proper wages. So I am fully in support of NLC. Why should we have a situation in which you are paying people as little as 20,000 naira, as little as 15,000 naira in today's Nigeria?
Yeah.
I'm happy about the compliance level from the states, because some states were not even paying the old minimum wage, not to talk of the new one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And in a state like Zamfara, for example, the governor told them that, look, I will pay, but we have to do some rationalization, right sizing of the civil service, because we have cases both at federal level and at state level of people of states carrying dead woods in the civil service, putting people in the employment whom they do not need. A situation in which you have drivers, maybe 15 drivers in one office, and the official cars that are there are no more than 7 or 8. So what are you doing with everybody? We are a very wasteful people. So if you have too many people, far more than you need, you should allow them to go so that you can pay living wage to the people who are left. And this applies both to the federal, state, and even the private sector. So the private sector are the most guilty when we are talking about these slave wages being paid to people. But they were represented in the tripartite meetings that were held before we arrived at this minimum wage. And they know that is the law. Our labor laws are too weak. Nobody would try this in South Africa. Nobody. Our labor laws are too weak. The law provides that the Minister of Labor must enforce compliance with the minimum wage. Do we see the Minister of Labor enforcing compliance? The answer is no. But the law permits the Minister of Labor to make sure that every employer of labor complies with the law. But that is not happening. NSC has cadres that it can use to enforce compliance. Workers are far more than employers of labor in our country.
Exactly.
So if they want to enforce at state level and local government level, they have the cadres that they can use to enforce compliance. Why should anybody be paying 20,000, 25,000 in this age? It's crazy. I can't believe it.
Yes. I mean, Biko made a very, very cogent point. Do you think the Ministry of Labor and NLC should go out to do some sort of joint inspection, joint enforcement of this?
Not just NLC, there's also TUC.
Exactly.
There's NECA. There's other relevant bodies.
But the Ministry of Labor and Employment should lead the fight.
Of course, once that has been signed into law, then it behoves on everybody. Although from day one, I've always said it, that this issue of putting everybody under one blanket is not good for us. I personally feel that every state should be allowed to be able to look at what it can pay. That's my personal opinion right from day one. Because, for goodness sake, although now there are any more, there are any more 3 times more.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you look at it, if you look at some smaller states and see their IGR on a monthly basis, and couple with what they are getting from the federal boss, you cannot compare them with the A-list states.
Yes.
A-list states like Lagos State, like Rivers State, like Akwa Ibom, like Delta. You understand?
Ogun State.
Ogun State too. Yes. You know, you cannot compare them with a state like mine. Ekiti, Imo, and the rest of them. Imo State. Everybody knows where I come from. I'm an Obo boy. Imo State. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because most often than it will be difficult, and that's what I've always said. So since we are running a federation, on the issue of salary, I think that can also. Although in the United States, there is a minimum wage for everybody. Theirs they work hourly, and their payment is always hourly. I think US is about $12, or whether it's increased to $15 now per hour. Yes, But with the issue of now making a big blanket of it and say, oh, it must be 70,000, because why they are paying now is because of what they are earning from the federal purse with the removal of subsidy and the rest of them. Before it was removed, most of them were finding it difficult to pay 30,000 naira. In fact, the 18,000 that was agreed before, was it 18,000, right? Some of them were finding it difficult to pay. So, but how long are we going to operate this system? That is my personal opinion on this. And I feel that we should be able to decentralize it and allow states to be able to go, because even in private sector, what is...
In as much as I agree with you, but I think states should also look inwards to increase their IGR.
It is where...
Financial engineering. But our time is passing.
Yes, financial engineering.
Exactly.
What is in Imo State?
Increase their IG. Just go, look inwards. Because if you don't think, you'll stink. Yeah. So you just have to improve.
But I still think that we should look at that.
Very, very wonderful. But anyway, still talking about labor. Moving on to our next conversation. In any labor agreement, getting paid is as essential as the services rendered. When that breaks down, reactions and confrontations are almost inevitable. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has directed its branches nationwide to withdraw services, citing delay in the payment of June 2025 salaries. The decision is in line with ASUU's long-standing no pay, no work resolution. The president of ASUU, Professor Chris Piwona, confirmed that some branches, including those at the University of Jos and the University of Abuja, have already commenced the action. Professor Piwona blamed the delay on the challenges arising from the transition from the IPS platform to the Government Integrated Financial Management Information System, GIFMIS. Now, Kaidi, here we go again. ASUU withdrawing their services. I mean, but what is delaying the salaries of members of ASUU? Why are we here? Okay. I think that before June, there was a delayed salary for May, now June again. Why?
And so, because you're dealing with, like lecturers will always refer to themselves, that they are not civil servants, they are public officials. No, they use public servants. Public servants. And so when somebody goes to school, you can take it for granted that they know their rights. Do you understand? This has been the norms in many places. You know, I know a place where the salary comes in 7th or 8th of the next month.
Some will call it the 38th of the 38th month.
Some the second week, this, and someone will say it is about the calculation. As long as you get it on that 8th, the other month, it is just 30 days. For example, I know an international media house in Nigeria, they get paid on the 15th of the month, and they get the second one on the 15th. If the 30 days is in order, that would have been fine. But in the case of ASUU, their grouse is that this is deliberate. It's because they took them out of IPPIS, you understand, which they weren't. And probably,
you remember the ASUU recommended UTAS?
Yes.
They said no. Oh, they should go.
So they've given them a neutral one. So they believe that this is the reason why there is a delay. So if they accuse them of deliberate act of delaying their salary, I totally think that's not in place. But where I have issues is, why strike? Should this get to strike? Because they have come out to say their own is no pay, no work. Why federal government and the government is no work,
no pay.
No pay. So I see this is more of gladiators coming again, two elephants fighting and allowing the grass to suffer. I sincerely believe that it's good you make it open, it's good you scream it out, but it shouldn't get to the issue of strike. I know the minister has come out to say that no university is on strike. That's the latest I heard from him. But beyond what they are saying, it shouldn't descend into the issue of strike. Especially this administration has done so well in relating with the ASUU. So this particular issue should not lead to strike. I also want to believe that this is not a game where ASUU president wants to be known as championing strike. I want to believe so, because we should do away with that word.
I mean, BK, I need you to weigh in on this, because Kaide said that delaying salaries, should they go on strike because of that? But why would their salaries be delayed?
I do not know why civil servants whose duty is to ensure that things go well in our institutions behave in the way that they do. ASUU campaigned for years to be taken out of the very, very unitary IPPIS. Now we have the government integrated financial management systems. And that one too, you are paying people, sometimes you are delaying salary for as many as 10 days in some cases. It makes no sense. So, in my view, the strike is meant to get people whose duty it is to ensure efficiency in the system, to ensure that salaries are paid quickly, to do their work and do it the right way. How many of them will be happy if their salaries get delayed for more than 10 days, for example? If they get their own salaries promptly, then university workers deserve to be paid promptly as well.
Exactly.
So, and they've complained repeatedly. They say it's part of their complaints to the minister, to the Accountant General of the Federation. There has not been any change. It always seems that strike is the language that some of our leaders and key officials in the government bureaucracy understand. So they pushed ASUU to the wall, and they are now saying, look, these salaries that you are paying us, even amounts to peanuts, is nowhere near the salary of judges, for example. These are people who had been on the same salary since 2009. Now, invariably, we had a new minimum wage, and then they got them out of IPPIS under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now their salaries don't get paid on time. The welfare of academic staff should be prioritized. We don't want disruptions in the academic calendar, but those whose duty it is to ensure that these disruptions don't happen, they mustn't be provoking academic workers in the way that they are doing, so that those guys will then ultimately go on strike. It makes no sense. The end academic allowance that they have been talking about since the Buhari years, now government has paid the money, but they are still owing 10 billion. Why not just clear this 10 billion so that we know that it's a clean slate? So these are issues that need to be addressed. The issue of welfare of workers must be addressed. And President Tinubu promised while campaigning that academic calendar will not be extended even by 1 day. Okay. So if there are officials who are making sure that his promise is not kept by delaying people's salaries and pushing them to go on strike, the president has a duty to clean up the system, send those people packing so that we can bring in those who will do the work and do it with honesty and diligence.
Absolutely. I mean, are they even looking at how this will affect the students? Some, I'm sure, may be sitting for exams. Some are just having their lectures. This issue, are they even thinking about that?
I just think that there are some people within government that want to sabotage the effort of the current government. And that's a fact. Some people are not happy with the relative peace that we've seen in the academia, especially in the university, in the past 2 years. And they are doing everything possible to be able to sabotage that. That is my personal opinion. Because if not, I don't see any reason why payments shouldn't be made. And let us get this clear. The president of ASUU have come to say that they are not on indefinite strike. He came out today with a press release. There has been some misleading headlines in the media and even online. He said, no, we are not on indefinite strike. What is happening is within the branches that are not being paid. If you pay me, I go to work. If you don't pay me, I go. After all, the government came out with no work, no pay.
No,
so we said, no pay, no work. And these are academicians. These are people that are lecturers. These are the people that will engage you. You know. So those are the reasons. And they accuse the accountant general. They were specific. That since they moved from it, they accused the office of the accountant general of sabotaging this thing. And they've given a warning that what happened, and they are still, what they are seeing is pockets of striking within the branches. If by July ending, they still repeat the same mistake, quote unquote, same mistake of not paying them, then they are going to go on indefinite
the mother
strike.
Of all.
That is it. So we need to put it in perspective. And I continue to say again that there are some people within government that probably are trying to sabotage. And just as BKO said, the president needs to come out and put down his feet, because one of his critical policies of this current government is education sector.
Yes.
You can see what he's doing with the scholarship scheme, the NEF fund, and the rest of. Most people believe that when he made the campaign, during the campaign, he said he is going to give scholarship, he's going to pay scholarship. Most people, in fact, I was skeptical. I said, where are you going to get the money? What's this man talking about? But it's already happening. Okay, so having relatively, this is the first time, probably in the past 10 years, that we've not seen this kind of strike within ASUU and the rest of them. I think we should be managed properly. And that is why you see that, for now, people are being more comfortable. You don't see people moving their children as they used to do to private universities. And because there's relative peace within the university. If we go back to Egypt that we used to have, then there's going to be a problem.
Okay, then. All right, then I think it's a fine place for us to leave it. CKN, so good to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
And also,
always a pleasure.
Appreciate you as always. BKO, thank you so much for joining us again on the show, journalist.
BKO, come back home. We are waiting for you. I left you somewhere. Come back.
All right, then. And that's all on Journalist Hangout today.
Everywhere is my home. Everywhere is my home. Nigeria is my constituency.
Okay, now just come back to Lagos. We are here.
Everywhere is my natural habitat.
Okay, now.
But we miss you right here on this table. We miss you right here. And that's all on Journalist Hangout today. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Yes, we are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga. Oreshegun, bye for now, and God bless Nigeria. Beyond the Headlines is up next.
The PCNGI initiative is actually a very good one, especially for commercial vehicles. It helps save a lot of costs. Nigeria happens to me, Nigeria can happen to me. My name is Thelma Okwara. I'm the relationship manager for Mesovest Limited CNG. For us here at Mesovest, when we bring in a vehicle, it undergoes thorough mechanical checks and then technical checks to ensure that the vehicle and the engine is fit for conversion. So when that is done, then we process or proceed to actually converting the vehicles. And doing that has ensured that there are no mishaps and there are no conversion issues or different issues that arise after conversion. So basically, we had like a smooth and seamless conversion at the end of the day. For instance, if you're under an association in Lagos State, Nigeria, you can convert your vehicle for free, 100%. You're not paying a dime for conversion. You come in, you bring your vehicle, we undergo the checks, then we send your name for approval. Once it's approved, your vehicle will be converted for free, absolutely free. Then they recently started another one with e-commerce vehicles. So if you're doing boats, lag rides, in-drive, and all, you get a 50% discount, meaning that PCNGI covers 50% of the costs and you take the remaining 50%. And they also brought a new payment plan for those that can't pay the 675,000 at a go. So you can actually undergo a payment process with them to ensure that you're able to pay up at the end of the day, but your vehicle will be converted.
Accountable Nigeria, a caring Nigeria, I live by the citizens' code.
I remember having like a driver after converting, he's able to save money, his money for fuel. He literally doesn't even use up to half of what he used to buy for. He can buy like 5,000 naira worth of gas and it takes him through the whole week. He even had to reduce the cost of transportation for his normal transportation cost. So when other drivers that are using fuel pay, say, 1,000 naira, he can collect 700. And even that 700, his profit margin is actually a lot in it. He just kept on thanking us, but he was so happy, honestly. It really helped a lot. Seeing the smiles on people's faces after converting their vehicle and being able to save this much cost, it's like amazing. Like you see them super excited, like you did a favor for them, meanwhile you didn't even do anything. So seeing that joy and happiness in drivers' faces after conversion and the testimonies that they have to share, it's like incredible for me, honestly. I can't imagine you asking a commercial driver to pay 1.something million for conversion. Where would he find the money, right? But they save you all those costs. Like you literally don't have to pay a dime to convert. So it's a blessing. PCNGI, CNG initiative is like the best thing that's happened to commercial drivers in a long time.
Accountable Nigeria, a caring Nigeria. I live by the citizens' code.
We've brought in workers, trained them, and they're converting amazingly. I felt like in the beginning, there were a lot of struggles trying to pick here and there, what to do, what not to do, because people were not really specialized in this. But then PCNGI was able to create an educational initiative to teach people how to do these things. So since September last year, we've been working with PCNGI converting vehicles. Nigeria happens to me, Nigeria can happen to you too.
By National Orientation Agency.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Thank you for joining us on the program today. In the last few weeks, a new political alliance has dominated the headlines. A coalition of political players drawn from across party lines. They're all united by one mission to unseat President Tinubu and end the ruling party's reign in 2027, from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to former governors like Peter Obi, Nasir El-Rufai and Rotimi Amechi, as well as former ministers who once served under President Buhari. The lineup is raising eyebrows and questions. Now, as you're aware, the African Democratic Congress ADC has been adopted as the coalition's platform. But cracks are already showing. There are ongoing legal tosses over the leadership legitimacy, unresolved factional disputes within the party, and questions about whether this coalition offers anything truly different or just a regrouping of old political actors seeking a comeback. One of the most vocal voices in the group is our guest tonight, who was once one of President Tinubu's most trusted allies. Now is one of the sharpest critics of the current APC government and has just officially dumped the party he helped to build. Joining me live from our Abuja studio is the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal. Mr. Lawal, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Ms. Amy. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Let's go beyond the headlines. You made your resignation official on 29th of June. But many would say you left in spirit a long time ago. What finally triggered your exit that is now coming some 2 years post-2023?
Well, Mr. Me, we are in a democracy. Even if we are in a one political party, you can choose to support a better candidate in another political party. That's my understanding of it. You can vote for him. I'm learning a template from APC. We all learn from APC this template of remaining in one party and working for another. This is a script that APC developed, which Wike has enhanced it and grew it beyond
imagination. So I'm not one in this. We are many in this. Winke is our leader in this kind of politics.
So if I understand what you're saying, Mr. Lawal, you were in APC, but you were working against the party even before you resigned, right?
Yes, true.
Are there still other APC members in that category as we speak?